let's do what we're here to do. Let's talk about the Washington Commanders. And the first thing when you talk about the Washington Commanders is that you have to point out is that how starkly contrast both sides of the ball are. You're talking about an offense that has the #1 passer in the NFL in terms of passing yards. Brian Robinson has had a nice year. It's amazing how good football players are when they don't get shot. They have a stellar wide receiving core. Terry McLaurin sometimes get lost in it. I've talked about how it's a great offense that isn't a good offense. It's a bad offense with great players. I don't trust this system. I don't trust Ron Rivera's. He's not his offense. It's actually Bieniemy, and with Bieniemy, it's gotten a lot better. But I still have my reservations, especially with that offensive line that they have. So their offense is actually quite solid. You then look at the defense, and it's like, oh, okay. I see why the Washington Commanders are losing games, because their defense is atrocious. So looking at their defense, they allow 29 points per game. 29 points per game. They have not scored a single point on defense. That's a lot. Some may say that's actually the worst in the NFL. And I'd actually say that I believe you're correct. But let me just bring that up just to make sure. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Sorry. It is... they're not dead last, but they're pretty close. Actually, am I on offense or am I on defense? Because I swear it was a lot worse looking before than what it looks like now. Because there's no way that they're #1 in sacks, right? No way, right?
They are their offense. Yeah.
No, their defense.
Oh wait, what?
Hold up.
No. They gotta be last in sacks.
No, because I don't know what's going on, because every stat bar when I started this was red, and now they're like no longer red. Like, I'm seriously about to like refresh this page to make sure that okay, there we go. There something happened on there, and now we are getting the right look at the Washington Commanders. So, like I said, they allow the most points in the NFL at 29 points per game. They allow close to the most yards per game, if not the most. Oh, yep, nope, it is the most yards per game. They allow 377.7 yards per game. They are not good against the pass, in which they allow 264 passing yards per game. Actually, the yards was not last in the NFL, or was it? No, it's not last. They are just in front of the Chargers, which the defensive head coach that somehow still has his job. They're better than them. They're better than the Chargers, the Bengals, the Broncos, and that is it. They allow almost 2.5 passing touchdowns per game. They allow 3.5 total touchdowns per game. They suck on fourth down. They suck on first down. All across the board, they are bad. They're 25th in fourth down percentage. They're 26th in first down percentage. They allow the most amount of touchdowns, most amount of passing touchdowns, most amount of yards, most amount of points. They're bad. They're bad. They're really bad. And our defense, our defense has gotten better. But it's still not. Yeah, I still wouldn't say it's top 10 defense. But obviously, since the trade deadline, their defense has gotten a lot worse. They've lost 3 games in a row. In those 3 games, they allowed 29 points, 31 points. And last week, on Thanksgiving, when the entire country was watching, I think it was the third most watched regular season game in NFL history. They allowed 45 points to a very good offense, to be fair, in the Dallas Cowboys. But they allowed a lot of points. And then over on offense, again, it's good. It's a lot better now with Eric Bieniemy at the helm than it was before. They're about middle of the pack when it comes to points. They've scored 722 points on the season, which is good for 14th in the NFL. So again, middle of the road. They run a lot of plays. They hold the ball a lot. They control time of possession, even if it doesn't necessarily amount to points. They have run the single most plays in the NFL this season. Like, for us, the Dolphins, we are 22nd in plays, but we're 2nd in points. So when we have the ball, extremely efficient. When they have the ball, which completely inefficient with the ball. Sam Howell while he does lead the league in passing yards, he has started to turn the ball over quite a lot, tied with Josh Allen for the most interceptions in the league with his 13 interceptions, 18 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Does not help you lose games when you're giving the ball to the opposition almost just as much as you are scoring the ball when you're on offense. But again, he is number 1 in passing yards. He's 11th in those touchdowns with the 18th. So again, the efficiency numbers is where he starts to find an issue. They finally ends.
He's also the most sacked quarterback in the league.
He is.
By the way, hi, Liz.
Well, actually, second. The team in general has the second most sacks allowed to quarterbacks. They are just behind the New York Giants, which, I mean, again, makes sense with how bad their offense is. Go ahead.
I believe at one point he was projected to break the record for most sacks in a season by like 20-something. Like, I think the most sacks in a season was like 56, and he was this was like.
Didn't Burrow that broke the record, or is he on pace to also? And then he got his ACL snapped.
That's exactly what it was, but he was on pace for like 78 sacks or something taken, and this is only like a couple weeks ago. So I'm not sure if he got a little bit better over the past few weeks. Slightly. Getting the ball away faster, but yeah, their offensive line is not good. I thought it was gonna be like middle of the road going into this season. Like, I thought it was gonna be an average offensive line. Yeah, no, it's just absolutely horrible.
And because of how bad that offensive line is, they do not run the ball a lot. This is a ball which makes sense. Eric Bieniemy coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs with Andy Reid. Sure, he learned a thing or two about passing the ball. They are 29th in total rushing attempts, whereas they're first in passing attempts. This is a team that loves to move the ball through the air. They trust their quarterback, Sam Howell. He started that game last year, meaningless game against the Dallas Cowboys, and played very solid. Won them the game, which was a not must-win game for the Cowboys, but the Cowboys had a possibility, if I'm not mistaken, to win their division or at the very least improve their playoff position, and they lost.
The
Commanders had nothing to play for.
The Cowboys last year in that game, they were playing for the number 1 seed, actually.
And they were playing for the division and the number 1 seed.
Well, yes, because if they won and the Eagles lost, they secured the division and the number 1 seed. But other than that, if the Eagles won, it didn't matter what they did. They were going to be the 6th seed.
Which the Eagles did win, but it's still like, wait a minute. What are you doing losing to a rookie quarterback in his first start? Like I just said, they do allow the second most sacks in the NFL, 31st in that nature. They've allowed 55 sacks this season. That's wow. That's bad.
I told you. I think the record's not really far away. Like, he's going to break the record.
Apparently the Giants have had their quarterback sacked 69 times.
69.
Which, let's just do the math real quick. 69. What was that? Week 12 divided by 12. It's over almost 6 sacks a game is what the Giants are currently looking at. That's got to be on pace for the record, if not already broken the record. They have some really good offensive metrics, which is the part of the team that you're most scared of. They're second. They get the second most first downs, which makes sense when they run a lot of plays. But then as you progress through the downs, they get less and less efficient. They get the second most first downs, but they are 18th in third down percentage, and they're 21st in fourth down percentage. So they get a lot of first downs. It's kind of because they run a lot of plays. As you get them closer and closer to the fourth down, they become a worse and worse offense. But Donovan, you're somebody who has Sam Howell in one of your fantasy leagues, or you still have him, right? You traded him away.
Oh no! I still have him.
You still have him in one that I know of. So he is what we've hoped he would be in a way. If you're a Washington Commanders fan, he's athletic. He has some serious pop on the ball. Like last week against the Cowboys, while in the midst of my food coma, I'm looking at him throw passes. Like the arm angle and the release point that he's throwing the ball at, it looks like he's about to throw it into the dirt. Like I kind of half turn away because I've seen that ball. I've seen that play. I've seen that throw with that release point, and it looks like he's about to throw into the dirt, and he hits his receivers in the chest. I'm like, excuse me? He has the pop. He has some athleticism. Yeah. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he can make plays happen. So from what you've seen from Sam Howell, both on your fantasy team and just in general, what should we expect from him as a quarterback?
Honestly, he's like one of those that he can either rise in the moment or suffocate in the moment. And now, given that when he suffocates in the moment, it's not particularly his fault, as we know he's the most or second most sacked quarterback in the league currently. By the way, the record is 76 times in 2002.
Giants are easily setting that.
It's 76 by David Carr in 2002. Who
was also on the Giants, right? Or was he on the Texans at that time?
Texans at that time. I think it was his rookie season.
That makes sense.
Yeah, ruined his career. But yeah, Sam Howell. I mean, I would expect somewhere in the realm with this bend don't break defense, somewhere in the realm of probably 350 passing yards, 2 interceptions, and probably like 3 or 4 sacks.
Yeah, I definitely expect this to get to him. He's taken a nice little leap, and his offense in general has taken a nice leap. You look at last year, they're only scoring 18.9 points per game, and then I like what Eric Bieniemy's done with this offense. He's not. Look, is he gonna be a head coach one day? We'll find out. But they definitely the offense has gotten better. They're throwing the ball way more and with a lot more efficiency. Like we talked about how they're number 1 in passing yards this year. Last year they were only 21st in passing yards last year. They ran the ball a lot more, but they were terrible on the ground just like they were this year. Like they had the 4th most rushing attempts last year, whereas this year they have the 4th least rushing attempts, but they last year had the 4th least amount of rushing touchdowns. This year the offense, it's gotten better. It's Eric Bieniemy's first year in charge in that offense, and I like what he's done with the team. I don't like Ron Rivera as a head coach, and this is going to be a game that's very much clash of personalities. You have one of the last old school coaches in the NFL. You still have Bill Belichick. You still have, even though it's not old school, he is old. With Pete Carroll over with the Seahawks, but he is a very traditional. He's a former player. He's a defensive guy. He doesn't go for it a lot on 4th down, and when they do, they don't do it well. Do you think this is probably going to be his last year, at the very least, as the coach of this team?
He's definitely out. I could see him possibly being a defensive coordinator in the coming seasons, but I think he's more so gonna take the role probably in like the booth or something after this year. But yeah, he's done as a head coach. He's not gonna be a head coach of another team for the rest of his career, most likely. Yeah, and look, like he's a player's coach. He was a player. We love Ramsey. Yes, sir.
I was referring to Liz.
Yeah. I know you were. You never said hi to her.
Talked to her on the phone twice today. Calm down. All right. I get in enough trouble as it is. All right. I don't need you assisting. Proceed.
But yeah, he's the player's coach. Everybody loves him in the building, and he's respected. But kind of like Bill, you're falling off with the times. You're a defensive head coach whose defense sucks. It's kind of like talking about the Chargers and Staley. You're a defensive head coach whose defense sucks. You're Sean McDermott with the Bills. You're a defensive head coach whose defense sucks. These are all guys that are probably going to be fired after this season, and I can foresee it happening with Rivera too, especially like in that tough of a division when you have the Cowboys and Eagles constantly on top. By the way, this is possibly going to be the first time that that someone wins that division in back-to-back years. I just realized that as I was talking.
Yeah, it's man, was it 10 years or something like that?
It might be something more. Like that.
It honestly might be more.
It might be, because I think it's going back past the 2007 season, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember seeing both Giants in there.
I mean,
but yeah,
we have Google Google as a tool, so why not? You can keep going talking as I look this up.
But yeah, I don't, especially with the rise, their new ownership played a strong hand in getting Jack Del Rio fired. I believe, at least
2004.
The owner,
2004.
nearly 20 years, bro. Nearly 20 years. Actually, I think this is technically the 20th year if you're counting 2004. So this is the
I
20th
don't
year.
know how they countered it, but doesn't matter.
That's still
No,
insane.
no, because last year they considered the 2022 season, even though it ended in 2023. So 2004
So
took
this
place in
is
2024. Oh, actually, okay. Yeah,
that's
I
what
think
I'm
you're right.
saying.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right. You're right. You're right.
oh yeah. Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Anyways, new ownership there. I like you're going to want to kind of go in the new direction, like all these other successful teams are going. You know, Andy Reid is an older coach. However, he's very inventive. He's
Yes.
Nick Sirianni, very inventive. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable. Like these are all guys that there's not too many head coaches right now that are successful while being just like a motivational guy or a defensive guy. Like Sean McDermott, he was having success, not anymore. Dan Campbell, one of the few that's having success. Dennis Allen not having success. Who's others? Mike Vrabel, not really having any success this year. So there's not too many guys that are having success without being like an inventive, new thinking, fresh, like
Yeah, and especially on the
thinking
defensive side
in
of
the
the ball.
building.
Like there's
Yeah.
the NFL is just going so offense reliant, and maybe because of Bieniemy's age, teams are reluctant to bring him in as head coach. So you maybe could get away with having a defensive minded coach in Washington.
How old is Bieniemy?
I mean, I'd guess
He said he's aged like he's old.
I'd assume he's in his 50s. I mean, or maybe he's just ugly. Oh, yeah, no, he's 54. Yeah, so like he's polar opposite end. Yeah, McVay did McVay even turn 40 yet? Like
I don't think McVay's.
McDaniel.
McDaniel's still in his 30s.
These guys,
Kyle Shanahan, I believe, just broke his 40.
Some of these guys have players that are older.
Yeah.
Than him. Like McVay had at one point a player that was older than him, whereas Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy, two older dudes, while Bieniemy on the offensive side of the ball you trust a little more. You just have it's the worst of all worlds. Old, defensive, not really bringing anything new to the table. That hard nose. This is how we do things. Rigid mentality for a losing franchise with a new owner. It's the worst case scenario to be Ron Rivera. They traded away two of the best players on defense, Chase Young and Montez Sweat. They re-signed Payne to a contract in the offseason, and it's actually one of those contracts that could be the bar for what Christian Wilkins ends up getting once he gets his deal.
Mm-hmm.
But you look, since they won that game in Atlanta against the Falcons, they've only won one of their last 6 games. And if you include that Falcons game, they've only won 2 of their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They've only won 2 of their last 10. They opened the season with 2 wins. But those wins, you look at them, especially at the time, you face a Cardinals team who had just brought in Mr. 4 interceptions himself. And then Broncos country lets ride right before they gave up 70 points. That's who you won in your first 2 games. And then you win against the Falcons, which, whoa, and you win against the Patriots, whoa. Like, they've only beaten, at the time when they played them, bad teams. And it's been a rough stretch for them that only got worse once you let go of 2 of your best defensive players. So I fully expect the Miami Dolphins to really be able to open the floodgates. I think this team has responded very well to being on Hard Knocks. If in a weird way, I think it's actually given them some extra motivation, and it's kind of played into what the Miami Dolphins' identity is. We are flashy. We do have some individuals on this team that deserve to be highlighted. We are more than just that team where like all is one. Like, no, we have some guys that are who they are. Being Tyreek Hill, Christian Wilkins, Jalen Ramsey. Tua is a very team player, but he has his own personality. I think the cameras, in a weird way, I think we've played a little bit better since the cameras have shown up. And now this offense gets to, I think they can go into this game very well. Like, look, we have Hard Knocks recording us, and we're going against the worst defense in the NFL. Oh, let's put on a show. And I think we are.
I honestly, I'm gonna agree with you that we're gonna put on a show. As far as the Hard Knocks thing goes, I think our defense has been playing well since back, and it was funny enough. Someone NFL just posted right when we started the stream that like the Dolphins numbers since Ramsey's been back, and it's like all top 10, top 5 numbers. And then Ramsey reposted like, "Nah, we're not gonna do this. This is a team effort. This is everybody in the building put in work." And I really like that. I really like that leadership that he's brought onto the field. Like he's done that in the locker room during his rehab and everything, but to have that on the field is so much more important. As well as, you know, now Cater's in the slot where he's supposed to be. Nick Needham is also back and healthy. So it's great to see those guys. But offense it's been kind of like the same the last like 3 weeks. It's not really been superb, given we did play very well against a good Jets defense. Nope. Ramsey effect. Hey, I'm taking Ramsey's words out of his mouth, okay?
You're not gonna get this girl to back down on Jalen Ramsey. Like, she's fighting.
It's Ramsey's words.
She's fighting me. I'm like, I remember exactly where I was when we got Jalen Ramsey. I was in the bowling alley. I think it was for Colton's birthday or some. It was for somebody's birthday, and no, I don't think it was for Colton's birthday. But whatever it was, we were at the bowling alley for somebody's birthday. Might have been my birthday even, honestly. And I got the notification. I immediately send it to her, and I'm excited, right? And she's like, no, you all called him trash. I'm like, who is you? I was excited. And like, I was on the phone with her. I was on the phone with her after the Raiders game. Okay. I was on the phone with her after the Raiders game when, you know, he had the game-winning interception. She's like, no, you guys all called him trash. I'm like, who? Who did? Like, she's like a bunch of people called him wash. I'm like, I defended him last year. I said that defense he was a part of was all beat up. That defense was beat up around him. It already wasn't that good of a defense outside of him and Aaron Donald. And then on top of it, they got surrounded with injuries on an offensive-minded team where the head coach doesn't know if he wants to coach anymore. Like, he was in a really rough situation last year. So, yeah, he had a down year, but I think he still has a lot of miles left in the tank, and we've seen that since he's come over. Like you said, we've been top 10 in so many categories with him on the field as opposed to him off the field. We've seen this defense is night and day. Shut up, bro. This defense is night and day differently than when we have our full allotment of corners versus when we don't, whether it's Rams. I changed over to the other stream that I do.
Oh, jeez.
He did not defend him. Who's he? Who's he? Is I'm he or is not he? I defended him. All right, maybe
I defended him last year.
Anyway,
all right. So points allowed were 4th since he's been back. Total yards allowed were 1st. Interceptions per game were 2nd. Opponent passer rating were 5th, and opponent third down percentage were 2nd since he's been back.
And we're gonna need it. We're going to need that on Sunday against a Commanders team that they have the ball a lot.
Jacob here's what he wants.
Yeah, whatever. They can score. They're middle of the road in the scoring, but they hold the ball a lot. They don't finish their drives well. I'm just ignoring her at this point. I'm just ignoring her. Love you. They can score the ball. They don't play well on defense. And so we're going to need this defense to show up, because if Washington is going to hurt us, it is going to be on the offensive side of the ball with the weapons they have, the quarterback they have, the system they have.
Yeah, I completely agree. And with Phillips being down, we're down a pass rusher. However, I'm the CEO of this fan club for full. Oh my god. With him being down, we have Andrew Van Ginkel that's going to be playing a lot of the outside. Now, the good thing is that per PFF, he's the 8th best pass rusher in the NFL. Andrew Van Ginkel. Yeah, right.
That's the only piece of notes you have up right now. We get stuck.
No,
this guy does not open up any notes for our live streams. I have, I think, 12 open right now.
This is I have PFF open.
Before
so
we go live, before we went live, this guy's like, I'm gonna bring something up. I'm gonna bring up PFF rankings. And what's the one thing he quotes? PFF rankings.
Hey, Bradley Chubb is also 13th. So yeah.
You just scrolled down. All right, bro. That's not that impressive.
I didn't have to scroll down. It's right there. So he's been very good for us as well. So I don't think we're really gonna miss too much, and it sucks to say because he is freaking fantastic. But I think we're gonna be fine, and I think we're gonna be able to get to Sam Howell and disrupt him a lot. It's really gonna be that they're gonna be able to yield so much because we're gonna be scoring the ball so fast that they're just going to have so many plays. Like you said, they have the most play because their defense is so bad that offensively they're just going to be chucking it up every time. So honestly, Curtis Samuel to the friggin' moon in fantasy because actually, who's going to be covering him? Is it going to be Cater? Is it going to whatever? They're going to have so many passing yards
this week.
Doug, Brian Robinson is going to catch so many screens. It's going to be awesome.
Probably. I'm very excited to see the battle of the identities. Like, this could truly be like the death of the old school head coach. Young, good looking, high pace offensive minded head coach, smart guy, went to Ivy League school, part of the Shanahan coaching tree, and then you have former player, rigid, defensive side of the ball, older guy. Like, it is the complete juxtaposition of coaching mentalities when you look at McDaniel and Ron Rivera. I think Mike McDaniel, you're going to see a Mike McDaniel masterclass here. I think this is a strong opportunity.
It's going to be amazing
to show what this offense can do. And everyone loves to talk about, and it's valid. We've only beaten one team with an above 500 record, and that's only because the Broncos won on Sunday. Like, we haven't beaten an above 500 team while we're playing them. Exactly. But we have destroyed bad teams. We have made bad teams look bad, and I very much expect. It's like, what was it against the Raiders? Tua had like a very quiet 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. I expect the same exact thing. I expect Tua to finish around 350 yards, get 2 or 3 touchdowns. I could very much see another game where we see both Waddle and Tyreek over 100 yards apiece because that's all we throw to. We don't have a number 3 in the offense. I've been asking for them to spread the ball out a little bit more. They're not listening to me, so I just have to take it for what they are. They are just funneling the ball to Tyreek Hill. They're going to funnel the ball a little bit more to Jalen Waddle than they have earlier on in the season. Both of them could easily finish with 120 yards, 10 catches apiece, a touchdown apiece.
Yeah, and their best corner, Emmanuel Forbes, is probably going to be out.
Play. Yeah.
And once again, they traded their 2 best pass rushers, so they're now given their 2 interior linemen. Meanwhile, they're not ranked well on PFF. I think they're like 39-42.
But they're good players. They just haven't played well with the defense around them.
Yeah, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Like, we know that they're good players. So the interior is going to have their work cut out for them, but I mean, just that secondary is not good. We can get the ball out really quickly. Like, did you see? I'm not sure if we talked about this in a video or not, but Tua and Tyreek have connected 15 times in under 2.5 seconds and over 10 air yards.
Yeah, I think you said that.
That is the most in the NFL. The second highest. The second highest in the NFL is Waddle with 10.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's Tyreek with 15, and the second highest is 5 less than that.
And we're gonna see
at 10.
We're gonna see a lot of that because the strength of this Commanders defense was their defensive line. You strip away Sweat, you strip away Chase Young. Now you just have, again, still 2 very solid players that you have there on the defensive line with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen's now the leading sack total on the season. They traded away their top 2 of their top 3 with Sweat and Young, and now it's Jonathan Allen who leads the team in sacks with his 5.5. Casey Tuhill is second with his 5, but then the next is 3. Like, they don't get into the backfield with the quarterback very often. So Tua is going to have some time. If he's going to have an extra second, but this offense even when they have time, don't really ask for it. They still get the ball out quick, and that's what they do. Tua hasn't got hit a lot this year. The sack numbers have tremendously gone down. He's only been sacked, or our quarterbacks have only been sacked 18 times this year, which is good for third in the NFL. So, I mean, I just think this is going to be just everything points for this to be an offensive explosion. Defensive head coach with a bad defense. You know, they've kind of lost their soul when they traded their dudes away at the deadline. They've lost 5 out of their last 6. So, Donovan, how's this game going to go on Sunday?
Oh, it's going to be an absolute just slaughterhouse.
What's the line? I haven't checked.
It's only 7. The line is only 7.
It was 9.5 for the Jets.
Yeah, which is why I'm like,
no, it's 9.
I think it's up to 9.5. It opened at 7, or it opened at 7.5, and then it went to 7.
We have the exact same spread as last week. The over/under for points scored is 49.5.
Oh, I'm taking the over on that.
Well, I can see us winning the game 35-10, but I'll let you give your prediction. That is not my official prediction. I still haven't figured it out yet. So go ahead.
52-21.
Whoa! Jeez. This is a team that does allow a lot of points, so that's not the craziest thing. Their last 4 losses, the least amount of points they've allowed is 29 points in their last 4 losses. 38, 29, 31, 45. So only one of those was below 30. And again, that was 29 points. Against the Seahawks, who solid offense, questions at quarterback, and the others were against the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the best offense in football, the New York Giants. No, definitely not the case. Definitely not the best offense in football. Shout out to Saquon Barkley, 30 fantasy points. Shout out to this man for giving me in that game.
Yeah, 6 points last week, buddy.
Don't care. Still won. I won by 33 over Manning.
Hi, Daniel.
I'm going to go with a very high-scoring affair for the Miami Dolphins. I don't think, quite like Donovan thought, that we're going to single-handedly cover the spread, or not cover the spread, cover the over-under ourselves, which, again, is 49.5. But I do think we're going to score. And usually when we expect to score, it doesn't end up being the case. Usually we'll end up scoring in the 20s. But I do think we will crack. I think we'll crack the high 30s. But I think it's going to be a situation kind of similar to the Jets last week, where the Jets made us struggle a little bit. I don't think they're going to make us struggle quite as much, but I can see us taking our foot off the gas pedal a little bit. I'm going to go with 38-13. So over-under, just barely beating it, but easily covering and easily a Miami Dolphins win. Let us know your thoughts and your score predictions down below in the comments.